to be discovered in the tales of D'aowVern.
Welcome, strangers and friends, to the Strangers Guild episode 3.B episode. We have today Icarus and Freckle playing our Death Domain Dianthus and Clockwork Sorcerer Yarrow. As we play these kind of side quest episodes, the idea is mostly to give each of these players a little bit more freedom, but also just, real sandbox, right? Just figuring out their abilities, their backstories, fleshing stuff out. Last episode we had Lady M and Nordia go on a couple interesting side quests, talking to some NPCs, kind of meeting and making new NPCs, which y'all can look back at that old VOD to check that out. Before we get started, this is going to be roughly 3 hour stream with a little break in the middle. But Dianthus and Yarrow, if y'all would like to recap the previous two episodes, just to kind of show where you are mentally, physically.
Well, you dropped a chandelier on me, and we will discuss that, I think, eventually. So that happened, and you got sucked. You got sucked.
A giant 10-foot tall
by
lady.
Mommy Red. Yeah.
Yes. And then she tried killing us.
Everybody. Yeah. Just
Yeah.
Everyone.
Yeah. She split into three.
That was
three
fun. That was fun.
That was great. You disappeared into God knows where.
Don't worry about it.
I'm worried about it.
Ooh, I felt my heartbeat. I remember that.
Felt one single
heartbeat. Beat. And it hurt.
What the fuck?
Your brother is back at the church, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he's fine.
Fine. Yeah.
Mostly.
It's fine. Everything's fine.
It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Dianthus was back in the church for a bit, then there was a portal, and then Cal and Dianthus went.
Yeah, I told Cal
to
get out of here, and his response was, bet. And then he jumped through it with her. Speaking of people I got to talk to, Cal, count your days. We won the fight?
So, yeah, to put that a little bit into a linear narrative, our characters all met up at the tavern where the Breakone event was to take place. And it's usually a little crazy. A lot of people, over the years have had, different run-ins as far as geography and, maybe there's new creatures or new systems of religion or government, that sort of thing. But this was the first time in the 100 years of Dianthus's tenure where the Breakone event, or the Breckoning, as colloquially referred to, brought on magic. So your characters, along with various NPCs, both aggressive and friendly, gained or regained magical ability. Y'all took on Bianca, who we were introduced to in Dianthus's origin scene as some sort of bad.
She's
Don't
crazy.
Really know much more than that.
She's nuts.
She's just a little crazy. She's just a little crazy, just a little nuts. But as the Breakone event started, as it began, the young, timid Yarrow got kind of thrust into the spotlight, both literally and figuratively, and some sort of effect similar to that ails your brother currently was put on you momentarily, and to your knowledge, it is not currently afflicting you. However, you have gained some new abilities. Before today, you did not have these arcane abilities. And Dianthus, even though you had always had a knack for, healing and helping people, this is the first time that the mark on your chest and the armor that you've been wary to use, and any of your clerical abilities have manifested. That basically brings us back to the tavern, where the fight with Bianca in time right now has just ended. And if y'all will remember, Nordia and Lady M left first. So
Yes.
Currently, it is just the tavern. Gonqui, the owner, half elf orc woman that Yarrow ran into earlier in the day, did end up paying you for participating and facilitating the celestial portion of the event. A little bit extra, probably about 5 extra gold than you were initially going to get for the trauma.
Take it. It's
but
worth it.
the owner, along with some of the wardens and a few of the NPCs that we've met, Gunnar and Cal, and various others, are throwing the tavern together. Some people are using mending abilities. Some people are just having to use brute strength. But actually, as the two of you are decompressing from what's just happened, people start drinking again. The party goes on. If anything, some people aren't completely sure what just happened wasn't supposed to happen. And that just leaves Dianthus and Yarrow. What will y'all do?
Wonderful.
I want to go back to the church. 1, to check on Emrys, and 2, to check on you. Because shit happened to you that neither of us fully understand, but maybe I can start figuring it out with my tools back at my fucking house mausoleum thing.
Right.
Yeah. So
I think last time too, Dianthus was like, "You're coming with me."
yeah, I didn't give you an option. You're with me.
No.
Going back to the church.
I was just like, "Oh, okay, cool. That's what we're doing. Great."
At this point, it seems like Yarrow is pretty much told what to do a lot. Everyone just kind of tells you, like, hey, like, if you're not in your tower and you're, visible, they're like, all right, so this is what you're doing. Come with me. It's adorable. I love it.
Yeah, he's just like, bet, okay, I don't know how to function outside of my little area, so here we go.
So yeah.
I will say, so Dianthus, as everything's kind of breaking down, you kind of notice looking around that most of the injured are pretty easy to take care of. The wardens kind of take their own, and most of the cultists have disappeared, either because they were killed in the event, or in everything failing, whatever the ritual was, they've scattered. You can make a check, depending on what you're looking for in or around the tavern.
I think I do want to find any source, because all we know is, they're cultists, but we don't actually know, at least Dianthus probably doesn't know anything about who these cultists are or what their deal is. Gotcha. So I don't know what the check would be, but I definitely want to try and find anything that would signify that would kind of point us in a direction to start looking, if that makes any sense.
In that case, give me an investigation. And I'll tell you what that looks like.
Ooh, it's my investigation. I shouldn't celebrate so fast. 15.
I was about to say it's a -6 modifier.
No.
So on a 15, Dianthus, as this was a pretty big battle. And you are actually the only character who has fought Bianca before. The fact that she was back in-game relatively quickly might be surprising to you. But for Dianthus, it's been about 100 years.
Yes.
However, as you command Yarrow to go back to the church, you're leaving and you see in between the door and where the bar starts, there is a single mask left behind. You don't know if it was from a living or deceased member of the cult, but picking it up, you see that the mask itself covers the whole face, and it has a design meant to imitate constellations. You're not quite sure, looking at it, what it looked like, what constellation it is. On a 15, you pick it up and you're able to see there are the spots that are meant for the eyes, but there are also other minor holes in the mask that emanate like a faint light. Meaning, if you were to look up at the night sky and see a collection of stars, that's kind of the visual that the mask gives off.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna hold on to that. Even if I can't figure out constellations, I got Moon Boy over here. So when we get back to the church,
he might.
He might. Who knows? You're smart. So we'll definitely hold on to it, but probably won't point it out to Yarrow just yet.
Is there anyone that either of you would like to talk to, or anything you would like to do before heading back to the church?
I mean, aside from like a thank you to Gone Queen, I mean, Yarrow's pretty much like ready to get out of there, and is probably just going off to Dianthus and be like, "The fuck was that? That's crazy."
So as the two of you start to collect yourselves, right before you step outside and the doors close behind you, Gonqui gives you a little like elbow nudge. You'll notice they're a little bit taller than you. Mm-hmm. And Yarrow, could you give me a charisma saving throw?
Oh!
Yes. Okay. How is my charisma's great, guys.
I want to say you have pretty good charisma.
That was a nat 20 plus 5.
Ooh.
That's my first nat 20.
Holy shit.
There you go. Yeah. I'm keeping track of like the nat 1s and nat 20s for something.
Okay. Oh no.
So I'm making a note of that. So as this happens, right, Gonqui has always been very, very teasing with you, Yarrow. And even earlier today when she came to remind you of your dedication to this event, your responsibility to collect on what you had done. This is probably the first time where she talks to you and you're able to like hold her gaze. Very, very strong woman, and very intimidating. Being a bar owner, you have to be able to like muscle people and that sort of thing. But Yarrow, in this moment, you're able to, collect yourself, maybe, adjust your hair or your monocle. And as you go, you get just one last, what is the last thing you want to say to her as you leave the tavern?
Probably just like, I'm sorry about the mess, but thank you for your help, and I'm gonna... I don't know if you need help cleaning later on. I kind of have stuff to do.
She gives you a mug, and she's like, "Hold on to this, darling," and then closes the door.
Oh, okay.
And
is it
you
a
can
nice
figure
mug?
out it's basically an establishment like ale tanker type deal, and you don't know what it means in this moment, but probably later you can figure something out. Maybe the next time you can or something.
Well, Cal just kind of bounces around, but does he have any places he haunts that I could hypothetically go visit after I'm done dealing with Yarrow?
Sure.
Okay.
He has his, various spots, because something that Dianthus, you've known Cal a while.
Yes.
He, typical to a lot of bards, is a jack of all trades type. So a little bit of everything. And I would say that for you in that situation, it would depend on when you go to see him. And then I'll let you know. However, you do note that Cal and Gunnar are putting together parts of the tavern type deal. If you would like to say something to him as you leave, you may.
I mean, yeah, I'm not charismatic, so I'm just... am I just point? I'll deal with you later.
Okay. And then the two of them head further on into the bar. And you get, Dianthus, a little, again, not a burn, but a sense of like static on your chest. But it's specifically when Cal turns around and heads back into the tavern.
Has that ever happened before with him?
Mm-hmm.
It has. Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I will say, as the two of you head back towards the church, because it's not extremely far, both the tavern and Maldea, which is the church building, are pretty close to the center of town. Neither are the epicenter, really, but they're both considerably close. However, I do need the two of you to roll either a perception or a stealth check, depending on, if you're looking for things as you're going, perception. But if you're trying to sneakily get back to the church, the stealth.
I'm not sneaking nowhere, King. That was a natural 1 on the dice, so...
Oh, no. I got a 15 for perception, so it's a little better than you. A lot better than you,
just a little bit. You know what? I'm gonna say I'm probably more focused on the fact that I have magic now, and I used it. So my mind's kind of there.
I will say, on a nat 1 from Dianthus and a 15 for Yarrow is actually pretty good for what I had for this. Dianthus, as you go forward, you're kind of for the first time truly taking stock of, you're in full armor.
Yes.
You have your blade and your magic, and like your eyes and the mark on your chest are glowing just a little bit, not as much as before, but you're kind of a walking beacon of just, if anyone saw you and didn't know your profession, you are kind of like the embodiment of the Grim Reaper. You look
nice.
like death. Like, it is like you see as you're walking out, like children that are playing in the street start to like cower and go inside. A group of the wardens come by, and right before you're going to be spotted, Yarrow is able to pull you kind of into an alleyway behind maybe some barrels or a couple baskets or something, and you see Lady Dinah, who is the bishop of the church, talking to a group of, to your knowledge, about 6 or 8 wardens in very hushed tones, trying to be hidden.
May I try to listen? May I try to eavesdrop?
You may try to eavesdrop. I will say, because of your bad stealth, it'll be a little more difficult, but...
Should I do it with a disadvantage then?
No, I'm just setting the DC high.
Okay.
So what'd you get?
18.
18. You can't hear completely. It's not as if you're able to hear someone standing right next to them.
Correct.
But Dianthus, in dealing with the dead and the dying and secrets that family members hold around those that are, in earshot of their loved ones, you're able to tell in this moment that Dinah, most of the times that you have seen her, has looked old, has looked her age. In the past 100 years or so, you have physically been unwavered in your appearance.
Correct.
But on an 18, you can't make out the words as much, but the words probably aren't as important. Because Lady Dinah, for the first time in probably about 40 or 50 years, has a youthful glow to her. And
that's interesting.
Dianthus, you've known this woman for a very long time, and that doesn't bode well.
No, it doesn't. Because we just
For
saw who was sucking life juice out of people to get younger.
Right.
I don't like that tie. Neither does they.
Taking the life juice.
It's taking people's
The life juice.
Are we Are we if within earshot of them too? Like, if I start talking to Yarrow, are they gonna overhear?
You could whisper.
Okay.
You're at a distance where it's like if you were to yell something, they could hear you, but muttered tones. And there are other people in the street too, because even though it's nighttime, most of the festivities have started to pick up, like people in the streets and stuff. So you can say something.
Then yes, I mean, he doesn't whisper. He is already a very soft speaker, so it's probably his normal volume, but he's just, we got to get back to the church.
I mean, that's kind of what we were doing. We're kind of...
Well, we have to go faster.
I mean, we can go, but we have to... I know, because there's people over there watching, and that
they're not watching. We're not watching us. We're watching them. It's not boding well. She looks different than I remember, and considering what we just went through, that's not a good thing.
Oh, like that's really different. I assume I don't see her as often, so it's probably maybe not as noticeable to me, but like how different, like
younger.
That could be bad because that whatever is happening there, that's a thing.
Correct.
Okay, we can go. Let's go. I'm gonna give you a tap on the shoulder.
Yarrow, in your head, as Dianthus is kind of explaining it, you get like that momentary flashback to being suspended in the air and like the youth being sucked out of your cheeks, and then it's like there's a moment of like, oh, okay, I'm back. Like I'm normal, and so
I think every once in a while he's like checking. He's like checking the face, checking to make sure he has a pulse. He's like, I'm alive, right?
It's definitely one of those things where, like, as y'all are walking back, certain like glass windows or any reflective surface, Yarrow's probably giving themselves a one over real quick. But you get back, and even though the wardens are a little more persistent with their patrol, Dianthus and Yarrow specifically, because your moon tower is more on like the eastern portion of town. And you're used to kind of approaching that way from the city, y'all are able to pretty easily avoid the path of Dinah and the wardens because I'm going to say that y'all would be acutely aware of the way that they are walking. And these are heavily armored, knights pretty much. So it's pretty easy for the two of y'all to sneak back. I will say, as you get back to the cathedral, you notice about Dianthus, this morning you had one patient.
Yes.
And that was Yarrow's brother.
Correct.
So everything should be relatively as you left it.
Oh, no. Yeah?
However, with the combination of Cal's rushed return of your brother, but also the events of this evening, even in like the past couple of hours, it would be, imagine introducing firearms or the capability of fire to a society of people who have never used that before. As the two of you approach the cathedral, there's a line of 40, 50, and kind of slowly growing, just people seeking some form of medical attention. And Dianthus, as you're trying to like get through, women, elderly, children are like pulling at you, asking for help for various ailments that they've experienced this evening.
When it comes to Dianthus, he is not comfortable around the living at all. He can heal if he is the last resort. Anyone else who comes to healing, he directs them to other people, other clerics, other priests, whoever is in the church who's available. So even though people might be pulling at him or trying to grab at him, I think he just keeps walking. He is not... This is not his expertise. And children are hard, especially when they're dying, so it is difficult to deal with children altogether for him.
I will say, as this happens, Yarrow, how are you responding to this crowd of people, to, everything that's going on right now?
I think he's kind of watching all the people, kind of looking over all of them. Definitely, like, feels really bad. You know, it's like, oh, I'm scared. They must be scared. That's gotta suck. But ultimately, I think he's probably like sticking pretty close to Dianthus and just like muttering, just like, this is really bad. This is like,
I know.
this is kind of a problem. Like, I don't really know what we're supposed to do because we could help them, but
I know.
Dianthus, as you push through the crowd, kind of get, maybe a couple, mutterings of, referring them to different members of the clergy, that sort of thing. You do catch a younger cleric. If anything, 48 hours ago, this kid might have been an altar boy or someone who collected various, offerings or that sort of thing. But you see that he's maybe like 16, 17. But he has glowing gold hands. And as he's going out and like touching, giving, various healing spells, you start to realize that most of the people here, at least the ones most hurt, are accompanied by someone with some sort of arcane ability. And it does, you do get through, and as y'all get through to the cavern, it raises the question: religion to a group of people that are on an island all its own, without any proof of deity or patronage, is one thing. But how will it change now that there are gods actually walking amongst them? And some of these religious individuals, you see actually some of the older members of the church are kind of standing around like, what am I supposed to do in this situation? Because they would usually tell them to pray or pay or sleep it off. But you have members of the community kind of, as you are pushing through, collectively realizing, oh, I don't think these people can help us the way they could before. And most everyone is fine and, starts to get the attention they need. As the two of you start to go down the steps, Yarrow, you do get kind of a gnawing at the back of your head. Maybe like you're being watched. But looking around, there's no one here. You're going down the stairs, but it's like you can feel, it's as if a thread is being pulled, and you don't know where it's from.
Someone in my house?
Okay.
Someone in my house?
Yeah, I think he's like walking, he'll stop and like look back just to check every once in a while, but is definitely very aware of that.
Give me an Arcana check.
Okay.
Someone's in my house.
Who's in your house? Who's watching me? Arcana +5 to 10, so 15.
15. As you get back into the cavern, Dianthus, you notice that nothing's really changed. Emrys is back in bed.
Okay.
The room or the area that you had kept your armor has a bit of a scorched look to it. If you remember, that it was kind of like a portal, but almost like a kind of a dimension door type thing, had left a little bit of markings on your floor and that sort of thing. So nothing too crazy. There's no one there, Yarrow. And like Dianthus, you're able to, in your space, you're very familiar with it. Nothing's been directly touched. But Yarrow, as you are pulling this something in the back of your mind, a thread materializes right in front of your fingertips.
Ooh.
And as this very new magical ability returns to you, you're able to pull it. And Dianthus, you feel a pull as if someone is pulling the back portion of your ear. And it kind of like whips you around. So Yarrow, it's as if, Dianthus is probably standing, anywhere between 15 and 30 feet from you. And you pull it, and it's a very direct tug.
I think it's so absent-mindedly that he's just like, oh, okay.
Right.
There's no... He doesn't think it's connected to you.
So, does it literally turn me around? Is it like someone yanked me?
Yes, not as though you're being like full body pulled, but it's literally as if like one of y'all right now went to the other and like pulled on their ear. It's like it's very much a.
What was that?
What was what?
What did you do?
I didn't do anything. I just pulled a thing.
A thing.
Yarrow, as you're saying this, you're still holding the string, and it's still pulled.
Is it visible?
Do I see it?
You don't see the string itself. Yarrow, you do. But as you know, you're kind of doing whatever motion you are with your hand. Dianthus, you can hear voices behind you, but it's not behind you. Like it's weird because everything that's happening right now is it's nonsensical. It is your senses as you are used to them are not processing what is going on correctly in this moment. And Yarrow, for whatever reason, you're aware that you have this thread connected to Dianthus.
You have a string on you for some reason. I don't really know why. It's there now. It's just attached. I don't really know what it is or what's going on.
Are you doing something to me right now?
No, I'm not
Yarrow.
purposefully.
Not purposefully, so yes.
No, see?
I am going to start stalking towards you. To grab the wrist that you have up, whatever like it looks like you're holding, I'm gonna grab that hand and just look at it, and then you can't see obviously, but I'm looking at it, looking at you, trying to understand what you're doing. Stop it.
Okay, he's just gonna like open his hand. I don't know if that does anything.
As your hand opens, Yarrow, Dianthus, I imagine at this point you're being pretty assertive, maybe a little aggressive.
Yes, not being nice.
Yarrow, there's a moment where your back hits the stone wall behind you, and you hear a thud, but it's louder than the thud should have been, because as you hit the back of the wall of this cavern, you hear Dianthus behind you, Emrys, kind of like fall to the floor. As if they are pulled from the bed. And both of you, at this point, see Emrys completely hogtied and strung up by the same glowing energy that Yarrow was dealing with. And Dianthus, you're able to see this now, so it's a little more, I guess, aware. You're able to understand a little bit more of what's going on. But Yarrow, whatever this connection it is that you have with these people, for some reason, even visually, just being able, like naked eye, being able to look at it, you can tell that there's much more of a grip on your brother than Dianthus.
Oh, shit. Sorry. I don't know what to do.
I am going to probably... Actually, here's what I'm going to do. You're gonna let go of your hand. And with that same hand, I'm just gonna clap it over your mouth. Shut up. For like 5 minutes. Nod if you understand me.
He was like about to talk and then just gives you like numerous nods.
I will let him go. To turn around and go do my job. To get my patient at least back up onto his bed if I can. I want to not touch the thread if I can, because I don't know what it is, and I don't know if I touch it, I don't want it to like explode or something. So if I can grab him in any way to yank him back on the bed, I would like to do that.
Give me a perception check.
Perception. What? Be right back. It went over there.
Oh no, dice on the run.
While Dianthus is dealing with that, Yarrow, you feel... Have you ever played with a ball of yarn and like and this might be an intrusive thought of mine, but you like put your hand in it and you can feel all the pieces of string just kind of like on you at once. That is kind of the physical sensation that you. And Dianthus, as you step away from Yarrow to check on Emrys to get him back in the bed, what'd you get on the roll?
That's going to be a 15.
15. So as you're very delicately, the string itself is pretty fine, but it doesn't seem to be directly related to the ailment that he has. Emrys, as he lays back down, you notice that he looks pretty much completely his age. You've been dealing with this patient for about, I think, 5 years now, is what we said. He still has that single streak of white hair that was presented earlier today, but he does look his age. But you look in his eyes, and Dianthus, you see someone's eyes that are not Yarrow's brother. And it's familiar to you, but you don't know why.
Oh, Lord. Yarrow, get over here.
Just wordlessly starts walking over.
And I don't know if Emrys is awake or if I'm holding his eyes open, but I mean, I'm gonna keep his eyes open so that Yarrow can see. This is new.
Emrys is asleep, but his eyes are open.
Oh, nice. Amazing. Cool. Great.
Okay.
Wonderful. That's normal.
And do his eyes look normal to me, or are they also like...
So, Yarrow, as you approach Dianthus, holding your brother, from where you were across the room, you weren't able to see or to, fully perceive that everything Dianthus was doing. But as you get over to, your brother and your friend that has been helping him, Dianthus, you see very maroon, dark red eyes. But Yarrow, the light that emanated from Dianthus earlier, from their eyes, even behind the mask, is also glowing from Emrys's face. From his eyes.
Oh, it's my fault this time.
So,
it's my fault
okay,
this time.
so like the glow is coming from you.
From me.
Yes.
It's my glow. But I'm seeing the devil from the Bible. Got it.
Yarrow's like looks down at Emrys for a minute, kind of like thinks for a moment, and then follows it back up to you. It's just like you're glowing.
I know I'm glowing.
No, but I think that's why.
That's why his eyes are red.
Coming from you. I mean, it's not him. I think it's you. But okay, so it's my turn to ask. What are you doing?
I'm not doing anything, to my knowledge. I am trying to help your brother with the same thing I've been doing for years now.
Right.
Dianthus.
Let's see how easy it is to accidentally do things you don't know what you're doing.
Dianthus, as you say this, it's aware. You're aware that something's wrong with Emrys.
Yeah.
But Yarrow sees you start to glow, and even the armor itself starts to smoke a little bit. And those voices that you're able to hear behind you get to a muffled, not quite a roar, but it's almost as if Yarrow should be able to hear it now. Yarrow, can you give me a perception check?
Well, that was an 8.
8.
I'm not perceiving shit.
You're not perceiving anything. Dianthus just looks really scary to you right now.
Great.
Cool. Great. I said to stop that. Whatever you were doing, I said to stop it.
I'm not doing anything. Look, he puts his hands up like in defense, just like I'm not moving. I'm talking to you, but I'm not doing anything else.
I'll look back down at Emrys. Are his eyes still red?
Mm-hmm.
I know there's gonna be nothing behind me, but I'm gonna look behind me.
Dianthus, you don't feel yourself physically move in this moment. Yarrow, you see Dianthus standing perfectly still in this moment. However, the black smoke and the light blue light that's emanating is pulled away. And Dianthus, as you turn around, you see a bunch of the threads. One connected to your ear, which is probably what Yarrow was pulling on earlier. But coming from just a little bit past Emrys's bed, there is a collection of tens and hundreds of threads that are wound together into a single, almost like hemp rope, like a 2-inch diameter, just full-on rope. Those voices are familiar to you. And as this happens, you look back at Yarrow. Yarrow's kind of stuck in a moment, just looking at you. But you hear a voice come from Emrys that does not match the man that you've talked to up to this point. And Yarrow, you actually hear this too. Darling, you say eyes of the devil. That's not very nice. A warm, effeminate voice comes from Emrys. Yarrow, if you're going to ask the wrong questions, you should at least follow the thread.
Oh,
Can I get a wisdom saving throw from both of you?
Oh, fuck.
yeah.
Yeah. What's my wisdom at?
My wisdom's okay.
That's actually very good. Clerics are very good with that. Fuck you, 25. Natural 20.
11.
Natural 20. So, what happens next is going to be, for Dianthus, very soothing.
Oh,
and
no.
An almost comforting situation. The string, the collection of rope that is tying you to this place pulls you through, and Yarrow, however it is that you are connected, pulls you through. Both of you are physically stood in place, and time stops.
Okay.
But both of your spirits are pulled through this string, and you hear the soft chuckle of this effeminate voice as the two of you are brought back into a very dark... It's not a cavern. There's no ceiling. There's no floor. It's a dark... Can't even really say it's dark because there's no light in this place. Dianthus, you're able to see because of your superior dark vision. But you see Yarrow in a cell with iron bars sitting next to a red tiefling woman. And Dianthus, as you look around, you recognize Obus, the moon from your dreams. But the first time, it was as if you were waking up and you could only see a solid 20 feet diameter. But Dianthus, you are sitting or standing in the middle of an amphitheater, an arena, if you will. And Yarrow, I will say that transition gave you 2 points of psychic damage.
Oh.
Great.
And you are sitting next to this tiefling woman who knows something, maybe. But this is the voice that was emanating from Emrys. And Dianthus, you realize that this is a memory. Because you look down and you are unmarked on your chest. You do have a single slash to your side. But you are holding the blade that you are familiar with. What do y'all do?
You want to go first? You want me to go first?
Well, am I alone in this amphitheater? In this gladiator ring? Is there? Can I? The source of the slash on my side, perhaps. Do I see him?
Dianthus, this is not a pure combat, right? Because this is a space within your mind that up to this point you hadn't really been able to access. You're certain this is a memory, but it does still kind of hurt. You feel the soft flow of blood from right across your ribs. The arena looks to also be suspended in time. So it's just you and Yarrow that are able to talk in this space, at least for a moment, because then this woman in the cell next to you, Yarrow, gives you a forceful punch in the arm, but not damaging, just very crude. And she asks you, Yarrow, so how are you getting out of this? And Dianthus, as you look around the arena, you only recognize one thing about this, and that is the square plot of what you can tell is recently upturned soil. And you get the feeling that this happened somewhat close to you arriving to D'aowVern. There's no one here in this moment. At least not that you can see.
Do I see the red tiefling woman that's in this cage with Yarrow?
You do.
How far away are they from me? Where are they in position?
I'll say they're roughly 30 to 50 feet away from you. Basically, you are sitting in the center of this arena next to where this is basically your grave, to your understanding from whence you came.
Neat.
And the arena it's familiar to you, but you can't put your finger on it. But you do see the tiefling woman in the cage with Yarrow.
I'd like to just point at her with my sword. Why are we here?
As you point, Yarrow, you feel the iron bars kind of move as if to part you aside, and a opening appears, and the tiefling woman stands up and marches towards you.
Wait,
so
there was
in
like a
that
thing
case,
separating us.
yeah. So in that moment, the cage, before it had the two of you, it puts you into a solitary cell, and the tiefling woman steps out. She's like, "You don't remember this?"
Why would I? What's it matter?
Dianthus, was it? This is when you killed me. You realize, Dianthus, as you point the blade at this woman, that everything that's happening right now is in reverse. She approaches you, and Yarrow, as you look over, you actually see the dead body of this tiefling woman. And Dianthus, she kind of walks into your blade, almost ceremoniously. But you do get a very aggressive flash to you in just a simple pair of pants with your blade, fending off the axe thrusts of this woman. It's a level of desperation and just swordsmanship that you didn't even know that you possessed. But as she tells you that this is where you killed her, you open your eyes, and your hand is chest deep in this woman, as blood starts to crawl up your arm.
I don't. Who are you?
My friends called me Hemlock. Kind of a dark name, I know. You can call me Emmy if you wish. The question is, Are you here to kill me again?
Again, I don't know how we got here.
Dianthus, as you are explaining this, you see around you there's an audience of roaring fae and undead and various, non-uniform, but a vast collective of people. And you, again, it's familiar, but you don't remember this. It's like maybe she's telling the truth. Maybe you did kill this woman once upon a time.
Yarrow is still stuck in that cage.
Correct.
Is there a door or any obvious way that he could try to get out?
I'll say, Dianthus, in this, because this is almost a dreamlike scenario, there's no door, there's no key. If anything, the architecture here is not logical, right? It doesn't follow typical physics. You could try to do what you did before, point towards them and see if the cage opens up.
Is my sword still chest deep in Emmy right now?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Yarrow's just like, can you help me out over here, maybe?
Can you let him out of there? He has nothing to do with this. Whatever happened between you and I, he wasn't here for.
You're asking the wrong person.
Then who do I ask?
As the familiar black dust encompasses and makes this visage disappear, you see in the in various cultures it's called different things, but for the purposes of this, we'll call it the Emperor's Booth. The part of the Colosseum where the most important would preside. You see 4 people. One is an effeminate woman with a shawl over her face, only showing her eyes, but in a dark purple. The other is a starkly contrasting individual, a fairy, bright and green and beautiful, but not at all as dark as the setting which y'all are in. And then the 2 figures to their right are the most familiar. Ivory skin, somber dark eyes sits Death, and next to him sits a not yet marked Bianca. Still in red, but she doesn't look as physically intimidating as before, and you get the idea that this is before even your encounter with her. Who will be your next challenger, Dianthus? Bianca says.
I want to go. I don't want to do this.
You wish to leave? Well, that's not the way of a challenger. She turns to Death and was like, you will deal with this. And as you sit there, you see that his neck is holding him to this chair. And in a very stiff, almost mournful manner, he nods. And Dianthus, the plot that is next to you, the ribbons reach back out around your wrists, around your ankles, around your neck, around your waist, and you are pulled back into the dirt.
I can say Yarrow has never seen Dianthus afraid of anything. There has never been reason for him to be afraid of anything, and this is the most panicked you've ever seen him. He's immediately going to start fighting against it, pulling against them, just very panicked repeats of no, 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 no.
Can Yarrow try and do any think, like, I mean, if he's stuck in there, he might try, like, try to see if he can, like, squeeze through or, like, use any sort of magic he has to try and, like,
Yarrow,
stop
give
it
me
from happening.
as you reach out between the bars, Yarrow, you actually feel the metal itself has a graininess to it. And as you pull at it, because at this point Dianthus is fighting the ribbons and the cords that are pulling him into the dirt, and there's a lot of just flakes of crystal and diamonds and other rare minerals being flung around the arena. And Yarrow, you feel that you're not able to completely pull the bars apart. However, you do feel similar to the thread earlier with able to pull Dianthus. As your fingers grip the bar, you look and you see a collection of loops around each finger.
Okay. I think he looks at those, looks back up to see if he can see if any of them are linked to Dianthus, and even if he can't, I think just immediately he's just, as quickly as he can, just gonna like take his hand away, pull it into a fist, and yank back like all of the threads.
Okay. So I'm going to take it based off of what you did. Your right hand, just pull back.
Yeah, he's gonna try that one first to see if it does anything.
Dianthus, you feel a bit of a pull, and right before your face is about to go under the dirt, you feel probably a good foot of elevation to where you're out. Yarrow, you do get the idea that some of those are connected, but not completely. And as you do that, you hear a yelp of maybe concern or something. As you see in the Emperor's booth, the fairy and Bianca have disappeared.
Oh
no.
Yarrow, you feel your pinky and ring finger being pulled oh so painfully. It's unnatural the way that your fingers are bending in this moment. However, the sliver of thread around your thumb is glowing red and threatens to it starts to burn a little bit. You get the idea that you should do something to get rid of this single thread around your thumb.
First things first, he's gonna see if he can just like pull it off.
I will say, as you do that, the other members of the audience disappear. Dianthus, you are pulled back up to a seated position, but the other members of the booth have disappeared. And you see a glowing bright red hemlock very slowly approaching Dianthus. The thread is not coming off of your thumb, though, as you are trying to pull it.
He's gonna try then to like bite it off.
Gotcha. Give me a Constitution save.
You got little fangs. I think you can do it.
Yeah, he's got a little. Oh no.
Oh, don't say oh no.
What's up?
Don't.
5.
Oh!
5.
Oh no. Oh no. Why? Why did you do this?
Is it too late to cast
Yarrow,
guidance on you?
As the thread catches your tooth and you pull, there is a moment of not quite fire, because your tiefling advantage, you get a little bit of a resistance to fire. And the heat that covers the side of your face as you pull on it, you get the feeling that if you were more human or anything more sensitive, you probably would have burned the side of your face pretty bad.
Okay.
You do take 2 points of damage.
Okay.
But as this happens, Dianthus, the thread that is holding you most firmly in place breaks, but there's a moment of oh shit, because you realize that same thread was connected to Hemlock, who at this point is standing directly over you.
Do I have my sword still? Or did I lose that in the being pulled into my grave?
I will say you have 3 choices
Okay.
in this moment.
Okay. Okay.
Because this is a very disjointed memory.
Correct.
Tell me what you intend to do in this moment, and I will tell you where your sword is.
Well, let me ask, does she seem hostile as she's standing over me? Does she herself have weapons in her hands, like the axes?
Give me an insight check.
Come on, baby. Oh, fuck. 11.
11. You can't tell.
Great.
This woman's face is quite literally lifeless in this moment. And as you reach beside you, both sides are like, where'd my sword go? Where'd my sword go? Dianthus, some of the dirt is in your eyes and you're clamoring, you're reaching out, and you reach out in front of you and you feel the handle of this blade still planted in the chest of this woman. And her dark, not quite maroon hair. It's black hair, but with, typical black hair, there's like a blue purple glow. Hers has a red kind of tint to it. She whispers in your ear, "So, I ask again, are you going to kill me again?"
No. Not for them.
As this happens, Yarrow, you see that the threads in your hands and everything in front of you reforms back into that single rope. You have 2 options because you've taken a little bit of damage right here.
Mm-hmm.
You can either pull, and I will tell you what that looks like, or you can try to make your way closer to these 2 in the middle of the arena. And I will have Dianthus pull the rope.
Oh man, this is Well, I'm still behind, like stuck in this like cage or whatever, right?
Pull them apart, dog.
Kind of.
It's my dream. It's my mind. It's my dream in my mind. I say open the bars. They are now like putty.
Yarrow, as you're thinking of this, and like seeing everything that has just happened, right? Dianthus killing this person, her approaching, you pulling the thread. Besides just burning you, right? The reason for that con save was as you tear a string for the first time, you realize that you're not actually in this space because this isn't your memory. And you are able to not control it necessarily, but even in asking if you're still in the cage, the bars move, and you're not even really there. You can actually still feel your body in the cave.
Float through.
Interesting.
Be a ghost.
So, yeah, I was gonna say, noticing that, I think he like realizes that's happening and then looks up and just tries to like book it towards Dianthus and is just trying to make sure like don't go under there, don't touch him, like
Gotcha.
whatever, just trying to get to you.
I will say in that moment then, I'm going to need a group strength check.
Ooh.
Oh no. My strength.
My strength is not where I'd like it to be yet.
That's okay. There was a 14 on me.
14's not bad.
It has a 9 sound.
A 9. What? So that averages out to about a 12? That means that I need to roll.
Oh no.
Nat 1! Nat 1! No!
That was the nat 1?
Wait.
No! No, not the 20!
No.
Please, no!
No.
Oh, Freckle, we're dead!
Oh, we're fucked.
I'm gonna put it in y'all's group message. It wasn't that one.
Oh! Oh!
As Yarrow, you pick up this rope, and you're like, don't touch him, don't do anything. You run forward. You and Dianthus, like, as you get closer, it's kind of as if, on a computer, it would be buffering, but this is like arcane. So like the rope itself is developing into almost like a climbing rope as you get closer. And for a moment, you start to see the four figures that were in the booth rushing the field in a sense of worry or like control or something, that they're running towards you. And just as you are getting to Dianthus, both of you feel a hand around either hip as this large red tiefling woman turns to the others and was like, well, for not killing me again, falls forward, and the three of you are back in the cave. This woman is tied with a black, her arms and legs, completely wrapped up by a different type of rope. It's not the arcane material as much, but you get the idea that this rope itself was physically used to tie her up in a different moment to this. Emrys slumps back to the bed. His eyes are no longer glowing or red. And it is the two of you. Yarrow, you have a burn on your face and a little bit of a headache from the collection of what just happened. Dianthus, you see that the cut on your side starts to kind of like sand, kind of disappear, because, again, it was a memory. You do see a single black thread materialize onto your chest, and Yarrow, you feel that black thread wrap itself around your finger, and then it disappears. In some magical, celestial death way, the two of you are still connected, but the threads and the pulling is not as palpable, physical as before. You have a living tiefling. Dianthus, this is probably the first time you've been in a room with 3 tieflings before.
Yeah.
But yeah. So you have Emrys, who at this point actually looks a little peaceful. His age is mostly the same. The white streak in his hair has actually started to go back to its original color. Yarrow, off the top of my head, I don't know how many health points you have, but I'm going to say, as far as because of it's been a long day and everything, you are feeling a bit exhausted from all of that.
I'm at 8 right now.
I'll fix you. Don't worry. I got it.
Not that I had many to begin with, but, but I mean, Yarrow probably for a while is just staring at his hands, looks around at all you guys. I don't know if I did that or you did that, or I don't know what that was.
I think he is just staring at this red tiefling. I mean, where did she end up in the cave, in the cavern here? I know she's tied up, but where?
She is equidistant between the 3 of y'all. So
okay.
Dianthus, you are at this point to go back to where you were before that jump. You are closest to Emrys. Yarrow, you're farther towards the wall, but the tiefling in a equilateral triangle is just between the two of you, but not close to Emrys.
Then to her, he will ask, was that all you? You brought us there. You brought us back.
Dianthus, there's a moment where you actually watch the life return to this woman's face, because I know it's a little confusing thinking about the chronology of that interaction. As you think about it, you actually killed her. So in the initial battle that happened between the two of you, somehow your blade found purchase in her chest. And this seems to be, the blood on her shirt and running down her is actually still warm. And you get the feeling that this Hemlock woman, she had really nothing to do with all of the stuff that just happened. She was involved, sure, she was there, but you're actually watching someone, and Dianthus, you've seen this before, where you have someone who maybe they lost a pulse or stopped breathing or, suffered a stab injury, but you are watching the energy and the blood flow like return to her face, but she is very weak.
Shit. Yarrow, help me get her on a bed.
Okay. Yeah, Yara's gonna move to help. I mean, is she conscious? Like, she's looking at us? Is she like...
Or is she in a daze?
Kind of in and out. It's very dazed.
Just like... So there's no point trying to bother. Yeah, but Yara will help however they can and just get her onto bed and get you whatever you need.
I will say, how tall do you think both of your characters are?
I think I said...
I decided...
5'7"?
6 foot
6
or
foot.
right under 6 foot. 5 something tall.
So Yarrow's kind of tall. So I will say...
a little tall.
There's a moment of Yarrow, everything that you just went through, just like this past day, right, has been a lot more action than you've ever experienced.
Yeah.
And there's a moment where you realize that this tiefling woman is just about your height, probably a little bit shorter. But as the two of you,
5'10", I don't know. I didn't decide. Around there.
Matter of it doesn't really matter. You start to pick her up, and you do feel physical strength of this woman. But I will remind you, she is still tied up. But if you've ever tried to pick up someone who is rather tall, but also going limp noodle on you, it is kind of difficult to get this woman.
So he's struggling. I really don't know what I'm doing. I
just lay her down. Yes, that's fine. That's fine.
Right.
And then, he's already kind of going around gathering bandages, cleaning stuff to stop the bleeding primarily. And I think it's just he's got all his shit and he's going to go touch to start the process. And I'm gonna say it's not even on purpose, but he is gonna cast, where is it? Healing Word on her.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. She's gonna get 10 healing points back.
Okay, cool.
Nice.
Cool. I will say in this moment of, rare healing for Dianthus as a death domain, do you turn that to Yarrow at all?
The healing?
Yes.
Yes, I can do that.
Okay, gotcha.
So, would you like me to roll for Yarrow too, or should I just get the 10? Or should I split it?
We'll say, just because we're out of, combat, all that stuff, we'll just say it's both for both.
So you get 10 healing points back, Yarrow.
All right. Full health.
Little treat for you.
I will say, at this point in the evening, it is pretty late, but the funny thing is, y'all just went through a whole lot. You've only been in the cave for about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So the two of you probably feel a heightened level of exhaustion, but it is not too incredibly late. So if there's any last minute things y'all would like to discuss before going to bed, you may.
Yeah.
But yeah.
The burn mark you mentioned, is that visible on Yarrow's face right now, or is that just a feeling that Yarrow has?
So part of it is, I will say, combined with the healing that you did and the fact that Yarrow is a tiefling and resistant to fire damage, right. Dianthus, there's probably a moment for you where you're like, oh shit, like this is going to leave a mark type thing. But as you whoever it is that, kind of rubs the soot away, as you're kind of rubbing it away, it's actually funny enough, because of the topsoil of the arena of the Earth, the moon that you were just on, Yarrow, that part of your face is actually like a little bit softer. It's kind of like the equivalent of having like a charcoal face mask type deal. So yeah, it's like, ooh, this is gonna leave a mark, but actually your skin like glows a little bit. Just, you know, just a very surprising. You do get the feeling though, because like Dianthus, as you're rubbing it away, it's still hot. You know, your drow fingers, you actually feel kind of the feeling of doing dishes and the water's just a little bit too hot.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of that. So Yarrow, you're fine, you know, just kind of
as he's
calm in this moment.
As he's doing that, a lot of shit just happened. Is he all there mentally? Debatable. But for that reason, the first thing that he's gonna say is the weirdest thing that he could probably bring up right now. And it is one of those things where he's brushing your face and then he just like grabs a hold of the back of your head. You dropped a chandelier on me.
That's what you're bringing up right now?
Yes.
Out of everything?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I dropped a chandelier on you. It was not on purpose.
Why did you do it? What were you thinking?
Why did I drop a chandelier?
Why did you drop a chandelier
drop it on her, and then, you know, you just didn't move out of the way like the others did.
So you were helping.
I was helping. Yes, that was my idea of helping because I didn't know what else to do.
If that is your idea of helping, then never do that again.
I mean, I was helping with that too, and I think that went a lot better than the chandelier. It's a learning process.
Learning process, right. Sit down, find a bed to lay in. You're not leaving this church tonight.
Okay, fair enough.
And next time that you want to help me by dropping stuff on top of me, don't. You're very lucky that it hit me and only me. That could have killed somebody, Yarrow.
It won't. I know. Okay, I know that now. It won't happen again. It was just a panic in the moment. You know, like survival instincts kind of make you a little stupider.
Yeah, I can tell.
Thanks. Okay.
Yarrow.
Thank you for the healing.
Yarrow, can you give me an insight check?
Yeah. 12.
Okay.
That's it.
Just leave it at that.
Just, you know, okay, cool. However Yarrow feels about this is, you know, Dianthus is being maybe a little mean. But okay.
If Yarrow would like to specifically roll insight on Dianthus, you're more than welcome to.
Can I?
Absolutely.
I would love to. What the fuck is going on?
A lot.
Your little head.
Fucking a lot.
That was worse.
Oh? Worse than what I rolled?
That was a 10.
That's better than a 5, baby.
Let's go.
It is funny because Emrys and Hemlock in this moment are, you know, like fading in and out of sleep. But if we were to third party this moment, right, it is very much like the audience is just like, these two. Okay. Like,
there's something heterosexual, no, homosexual happening over here.
There's a moment of like, okay, sure, Dianthus, sure. Your check, you can't really get much more than that in this moment, but there's a little bit of, okay, all right, fine.
Yeah, sure.
Whatever you say, Dianthus.
We'll fake it.
Yeah, sure. Great.
So with your 10 against my 5, he's very mad. He's very frustrated. He's very annoyed. He's very scared, and it is not at you. You just happen to be
redirecting
here.
it.
Yeah, it's not a healthy coping mechanism, kids. Don't do this in real life.
Don't do it.
But you are the only thing that is 100% solid right now. Like, he can trust that you are here, and you are real, and you're not a memory. He doesn't even know if the chick on the table right now is actually here or not. That could just be his mind. So he knows you're here, you're real, you were there.
Right.
You saw everything.
And now we're here.
And now we're here. And so I'm going to take all of this horrible feeling and I'm going to shove it down, but I'm also going to throw it at you because you're the only thing that I can throw it at right now.
Yeah,
So
I think there's probably just like letting you yell at him. And then there's just this moment, it's just like, are you okay?
what do you think?
No.
You're so smart.
Okay.
How would you feel if that was your memory? Something that you didn't remember, something you didn't know about yourself. How would you feel?
Horrible, and I feel horrible. I'm sure you feel horrible. But we can sleep on it and think about it more in the morning when we can have clearer heads.
I don't want the others to know.
But, I mean, they might be able to help.
I don't want their help. This is my thing.
Okay.
I'll deal with it my way.
Will you accept my help?
As long as you stay away from chandeliers.
I can do that.
Can I get a perception check from both of you?
Yes. GQ.
17.
So I'm going to tell the both of you what happens with that when we get back from our break.
Ah!
We're going to
Alright.
take a little break, go to the bathroom. I'm going to grab some water.
Yes.
I will, just a little thing, a little teaser for that while we step aside for a second. Dianthus, as you're saying, I don't want the others to know, you
Lord.
see two people walking down the stairs.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, no.
Oh, great. Wonderful.
And we, as a collective, anyone, watching at home, we will figure out what that means after this break.
Oh, hey, long time no see. It's Icarus again. Today, we just had a couple shoutouts we wanted to give. The first one being for the person responsible for our theme song, which played at the beginning of the episode and which is playing right now. Emily McAnally is phenomenal. She did an incredible job bringing to life a song that really encapsulates the vibes of our campaign. So if you are in need of a custom theme song from anything between your D&D campaign or a video game, please consider checking her out. She's an angel to work with. We worked through Fiverr with her, which you can find her there at Emily McNally 5. That is Emily MCNALLY, the number 5. We also wanted to shout out Epidemic Sound, which is a subscription service that I use personally in my day-to-day job, work life, and for this campaign. All sound effects and musical chords that are not the theme song came from Epidemic Sound. Now, we are not sponsored by them. I simply want to give a shout out and give credit where it was due. There's a ton of music and sound effects available on that site for editors like me, so the atmosphere of these scenes would be a lot more boring without all of those additional little add-ins. All right, that was it. Let's get back to it.
We are now ready to tackle about another hour of gameplay. That being said, we left off on the moment of Dianthus basically holding Yarrow to secrecy. And as this happens, both of you, and I will say for flavor, Dianthus, if you remember, you were like holding Yarrow from like behind the head.
Correct.
In this moment.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like wiping off. So literally it's like both hands on Yarrow's face. Emerus and Hemlock are asleep. But as this happens, both of you, in a moment of like, oh shit, turn and you see Cal and Gunnar walking down the steps.
Dianthus is calm, collected. It's going to finish getting the soot off your face before he drops his hands and takes a step back, and then looks to them. When I have patience, unless you are dying, you should not be down here. That is the rule.
So no kiss and tell, Dianthus.
What do you want?
All right. You get the idea that Cal is very rosy-cheeked because if you remember, they were helping rebuild the tavern.
Mm-hmm.
And, afterwards, they helped they helped build it back up. It's funny. Sabrina's back in the group chat, so she's like, "I just popped back in. Were you about to kiss?" That's funny. It's a good time. But you actually get the idea that Cal and Gunnar have both been drinking quite a bit, and
Okay.
Cal is like, and Gunnar very gruffly is like, you told us to meet you here after we finished the
I
tavern.
told him, pointing at Cal, to come back here, not you.
Yeah, yes, I see. And so Gunnar starts to just like walk back up the steps. Cal's like, Dianthus, why?
Probably okay. One more. Or not.
Shut
It's your
up.
house. Okay.
Exactly. My rules as long as you're down here. Are you dying?
I'm not dying.
Great.
I'm dying to know what I missed, though. That looks exciting. But, we can talk about it later. What were you wanting to talk about?
I will reach into my pocket to pull out that fun little coin he gave me before he tackled Bianca through that portal.
Mm-hmm.
What is this?
Yes. The tokens. Has it done anything yet?
How would I know? It's a coin.
Oh, trust me. You would know. You would know. Again, you get the idea that, like, Cal's drunk. But you would know. You would know.
How many drinks have you had?
How many? What's in a number? Yarrow, do you want one? Extending the coin out to you. He's like, what doesn't it do? Just take it. You seem like a good kid.
He's very cautiously gonna reach out and take it, like 2 fingers. Why'd you fucking phrase it like that, King? You sound like a good kid. Take the drugs.
He's a good kid. Like
Why do I?
He's a good head on his shoulders, you know.
Thank you. What is? Can you elaborate, please? What is this?
Dianthus and Yarrow, as both of you are holding the coin. Dianthus, accusatory, but Yarrow, in a sense of like, what is going on? You said like holding it, kind of,
It's like, what is this?
Like, what is this? Both of you, as you're looking at it, the coin before, it was a dual-sided, just flat, almost copper, like tin type thing. But as you look at it, it starts to glow a little bit, and you see in real time a chiseling on the surface of the coin as a hooded figure sharing each of your respective jaw lines is imprinted on the coin. And as the two of you are sitting there, Cal's just like, I love this pie. And he very, like, drunkenly kind of, like, sits against the wall and, like, slumps to the floor. Just very, like...
Is this going to be something else that causes problems?
Causes problems? Problems are just solutions solutions on... I'll come up with something. But, yes. Let's see. No, I mean, in my experience, they just kind of do cool things.
Do things.
They do things.
They magic.
Everything's a little magic.
You know what I mean. World didn't have magic before an hour ago, and now it does. Were these able to do whatever the fuck before or after?
All right. And he gets himself up, starts to like, okay. They...
What'd you break? Stop touching my shit.
Everyone who's given a guild token. In my experience, it doesn't do the same thing to any 2 people. So I don't know what it will do, but it's going to be really cool when it does.
Can it summon memories?
Summon memories? I've never tried that before. I don't see why not.
He will look to Yarrow. It wasn't your fault after all.
Right back at you. That's good to know.
What wasn't Yarrow's fault?
And you're
My
drunk, you
magic
probably won't
still
forget it.
works.
So,
It's just, yeah.
if you remember this when you're sober, pretend you don't. I experienced something. A memory. Maybe. I thought it was Yarrow's fault. It was not. And if this can do a great wonder of things, perhaps it's the source of that.
I will tell you, it just started glowing, right? For you? Like,
To my
mine-
knowledge, it's been in my pocket most of the night.
mine started a couple hours ago, but as he does this, there's a moment of, like, absolute terror that, like, goes across his face as he's starting to sober up, but is looking past you at the tiefling woman on the bed. And he just goes, Emmy, is that you?
You know her?
Cal, in a moment of uncharacteristic abandon, kind of like pushes past you, Dianthus, and is just sitting like at the foot of her bed, just like, what did you do?
How do you know her?
How don't I know her? Hemlock and I go, well, Dianthus, you know, time's strange here, but we used to be part of the same crew before.
Before what?
That is very curious.
Cal.
Oh my gosh, this is going to be so fun. You thought that this did that. There's no way. These are trivial. I have a bunch of these things. These are not worth. This, though, this. You feel for a moment, Dianthus, a slight push into your thoughts as Cal, you can see, is trying to almost knock on your mind as he casts detect thoughts on you. And he's like, I want to show you something. If I may. And he like extends his hand.
Fine. I will take his hand.
Yarrow, as this happens, the coin in your hand starts to glow. Dianthus, Cal takes your hand. And for a moment, the three of you, not in the way that you were before, because the way, like before, it was a very forceful pull into a specific memory. But what happens here is Cal, Dianthus, as he like kind of like grabs your hand, you're taken to the deck of a ship, and you know there's a crew running around doing a bunch of things. You see an older tiefling, burly with a beard, purple, very very stereotypical pirate, yelling commands at each other. You see a bit of a younger Cal and a younger Hemlock running across the deck of the ship, and the two of them are rigging things and moving cannons and throwing barrels and that sort of thing. And there's a moment of just like laughter. And as the ship kind of goes into the horizon, Cal puts his hand around Hemlock's hip, and the two have a moment. And just as you think they're about to kiss, you're back in the cavern. Cal's like, years before I met any of you, especially you, Dianthus, we go way back.
How long?
Well, again, years are weird here, so...
An estimate, then.
I'll say about probably 10, 15 before we got here. It took me a while to sift through the memories, though, because, like, as you're aware, like, for those that are new to the island, it takes a while to remember. You've always been the most curious, because even though you've been here longer than most, it seems as if your memory is most obstructed. And it's not my place to tell people, what to remember of their old lives. But when she wakes up, it will be interesting to have that conversation. Oh, that's going to be awkward. Was there anything else you needed?
How sober are you right now?
You get like a feeling of he doesn't want to lie to you in this moment. But if you've ever talked to someone who's like coming off of being like really drunk, there's that sense of, trying to do the little things to get their attention back. But he is pretty drunk.
I will tell you when you wake up. You'll sleep here tonight.
He's like, well, okay, so that's going to be a brief problem because and then Gunnar comes back down and he's like, sorry, Dianthus, was it? I'll make sure he talks to you in the morning or however late it is that he wakes up. But you aren't the only people that he's supposed to talk to this evening. How about this? Gonkui gave us these little, and he holds up a similar tankard that he gave Yarrow. He's like, you bring this to me. He hands you the tankard, Dianthus. He's like, bring this to the tavern tomorrow evening. We'll have a drink. We'll talk it over. Well, not that many drinks. We will have some water and we'll talk it over. But your lady friend, what was it? M and Nautia, they're expecting us. So we gotta go. But I understand, I experienced what you are saying you've experienced today. So
with all due respect, whatever your name was, you have no idea what I've just gone through.
Well, be that as it may, you're probably right.
I'm not probably anything. I'm always
don't
right.
take it personally.
What was that, Yarrow?
He was just saying, don't take it personally.
There's a moment where you think, because like Gunnar is like a bigger guy, but there's a moment where he kind of like cocks his head a little bit, and then it's like, all right. And he kind of like picks Cal up by the arm. He's like, I'll watch over this one. We'll talk. Honestly, I imagine he'll sleep in a bit, but we'll talk tomorrow.
Fine. Go.
And the two of them leave. Y'all are left a sleeping brother, a sleeping prisoner, so to speak. Maybe not your prisoner, but someone's. And it is just the two of you.
I have to tell him that I killed her.
What? I mean,
I have to.
She's alive right now. Technically. Maybe. Is she? Wait. He's like looking over. Does it look like she's breathing?
She is breathing. Dianthus, Dianthus gave her a healing word.
Yeah, okay.
I wrapped her up too.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, she's alive, so you technically didn't.
My memory's not the best, but if she remembers that I killed her, she will tell him. I'd rather he hear it from me.
You could have just told him now.
He is very intoxicated. I would want him to be of a sound body and mind.
Alright, tomorrow then. That could be the
Tomorrow.
On the list of things.
You have a list.
Not physically, just metaphorically.
What else is on your list?
I mean, I'm not saying we can tell the others, but it might be good to ask them about some stuff, or I can check in with my own research back at my place. Maybe there's something in there that could be of help, or we can go to the library or something and find something that might help us a little bit.
Going to your tower might not be a terrible idea.
Right, I have plenty of notes and books that maybe there's something in there. I just have to go through and see.
I will go with you then.
Okay, cool.
Are y'all doing that now or in the morning?
In the morning.
No,
I
think probably, yeah. Because he's just like, my head hurts.
Find a bed, lay down, get some rest.
You as well. And yeah, I'm gonna.
I will say, Dianthus, to my memory, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't sleep, correct?
I do not.
You have a, 4-hour meditation?
Yeah, I can trance for 4 hours and then I am fine. But yes, I mean, it's very notable that there's no, like, master bed down here that he would sleep in.
Sure. Could you, I guess, just illustrate for me what that looks like for Dianthus?
I think before he had his armor on, that space, the quote-unquote closet that the armor and sword had been kept in, is where he'd go to almost like a praying position, get down on his knees before it, bow his head and close his eyes, and he would trance there. That is also the spot he would go to if he wanted to try to talk to death. That is where he would go. So even though he's wearing the armor, I don't think he's going to take it off. I think he will take out the sword from the sheath and just lay it flat on the ground in front of him and get on his knees and get into his trance position.
It probably takes you a little bit to absolutely like slip into the trance. And for the first time in a long time, since, you have the memory roughly 100 years ago with death. But this is the first time that, you close your eyes and you're in your armor in this position. Next to you, you feel a soft hand rest on top of yours. And you know that if you opened your eyes, it would be gone. But at least for this 4 hours, for this bit of a trance, death for the first time sits with you.
I don't think that he would vocally speak, because I don't think to him it matters. But I think he will ask, at least at the beginning, who was I?
There's a solid, and in dreams, right? Like over the course of a night, like it's a long time, right? Your brain does that sort of thing. But like in this moment, there is minutes of silence. You were strong. And you were my favorite. And I did not do this to you. But I'm glad it's working out. And that's all you get. I will say, Dianthus, throughout the night, because it is kind of a trance, you wouldn't really realize this. Yarrow, if they were to come into the room, the armor that was put on you by the topsoil and the shadow and all that stuff kind of burns and dissipates throughout your meditation. And you get the next morning, there is a bit of a metallic film to the mark on your chest. And you get the idea that it is sitting with you.
Oh.
Fancy.
Okay.
So,
all right.
So, yes, your 4-hour trance, you wake up and you are shirtless in whatever pants you were probably wearing before.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dianthus is sitting there. And I will say, for the purposes of flavor, Yarrow, you wake up to a very hard sleeping Hemlock and Emrys, and you just see Dianthus, full meditation, but like sitting in that kind of like upward prayer on their knees type thing.
Wait, do I see like whatever mark then is there?
Ooh. If I'm shirtless.
You are standing behind Dianthus.
Oh, okay.
As you approach Dianthus, you have two choices as far as how you would like to look at this man. Either you can start, bottom to top, check out, whatever it is, and then
Yeah.
focus to the mark. Or you can try to look from the top down and look at the eyes of Dianthus.
Oh,
Neither of which you've seen before.
right. I think top down. Yeah,
Right.
that's what I'm going with.
Dianthus, then,
Yeah.
in this moment. So, top down. Do you think, because you're in like a trance type state, but you would probably, be aware that Yarrow is there, at least like in that moment?
Maybe not that it's Yarrow, but like someone is there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So do you think that your eye mask, your eye covering would reappear, or do you think Yarrow would see your face?
I think it would reappear. I think it would.
Okay. So Yarrow, as you approach, you're able to see Dianthus is visibly a little stronger than you'd expect from like a cleric of any denomination. But there is almost like a swimmer's like build. But as you approach Yarrow, you think, and again, you're kind of taller, right? So you get around and you're like, oh my gosh, this is kind of exciting. And you look, and as you think you're gonna get like, because Dianthus's eyes are closed, but right before you think they would open, there's a explosion of black dust and not quite dirt because it dissipates into like a smoke, but the mask and the armor appears fully on Dianthus. And Dianthus, you are awake, and you kind of tilt your head towards Yarrow.
He jumps back immediately with the puff of everything.
Why are you sneaking around?
I was just going to check on you and see if you were awake.
I am now.
Good morning.
We'll see. And he will get up, get his sword, put it back in the sheath. And I think he will first turn to just look at Emrys and Hemlock and see how they are doing this morning.
I will say, Dianthus, in the years that you've been doing this, you have become acutely aware, and this is almost like a passive medicine check, but you're acutely aware of when you can look at someone and be like, they are nowhere near rested. Like you look at them, and because Emrys, up to this point, he's been in your care for about 5 years or so. Sometimes he'd go days without waking up. And you get the idea that for both of these people, it's kind of like one of those things where they are, even if you were to try to wake them up, and Yarrow, even if you try to wake up your brother, they would not wake up.
We can leave them. They'll be fine.
Are you sure? Have you ever left them alone? Or him alone before, and then now we have another one, but I don't know if...
In the course of 5 years, I have had patience down here with him. And yes, I have left the church without anyone watching over him and come back to him alive. We can go.
Okay. Let's go then.
He's gonna take one more look though and make sure to be like, you're good.
In this moment, right, as y'all collect your things, you get up and you start to head out. Between the two of you, who do you think is the most concerned in this moment?
I think they're both concerned for different reasons, but it's just a matter of...
I think they are concerned for different reasons, and they are concerned about different people. I've had Emrys for a while. I pretty much know how to handle him. I've had this chick for less than 12 hours, and she's still tied up in this black ribbon shit. So I am concerned about her, less so about Emrys.
Yarrow, can you give me an Arcana check?
Yes. That's not bad. That's a 17.
I'll take it.
17.
Yeah.
As the two of you leave, and this is kind of like the last thing, as you leave the cave, Yarrow, you get just a sneaking suspicion with what Cal said yesterday about the token. As you pick it up, it starts to glow with a a faint purple.
Okay.
And for a second, you think it's going to start to burn, maybe. But similar to the same material that's the thread you pulled at yesterday, it starts to dissolve and it actually falls through your hand. It's kind of like if you watch something that's metal on something and like burn through it. That's kind of what it does. It doesn't burn you, but it kind of phases through your hand and it falls. And as it hits the floor of the cavern, everything kind of glows a little bit more. But as the two of you step out and turn around, Emrys and Hemlock are visually gone. But Yarrow, you're still able to see them.
Oh.
You're still you can still see them. But
where are they?
But if someone was to step into the cave, they would not be able to see or sense these two.
Can I see that?
Dianthus, I'll say for a moment, there's a moment of like, what the fuck? And Yarrow just is like, no, it's fine, and is able to like get you out of there.
Yeah, he's like, oh shit, that's pretty cool.
That was cool. What do you see, Moon Boy? What's going on?
They're invisible.
They're invisible. Okay.
I would say, Dianthus, as you do that, though, you're actually able to see the two of them in the reflection of Yarrow's monocle. And there's a moment of like, ooh, okay.
Now, clicked. Got
I
it.
like it. Picasso.
I like it.
But yeah, the two of you leave, however.
Yeah.
And you have some choices, right?
Yeah.
Because, up to this point, everything's been pretty directed. But now you have the option of grabbing breakfast, kind of going out to town, like seeing, what's happened, going to the Moon Tower, going to the library, if you would like to stop and maybe check out some places to like get inventory of something. This is kind of the point where it is, it's the open world, right? Y'all are level 2. You've played through the tutorial aspects of D'aowVern. And now it's just really just what do the two of you want to do?
Dianthus is going to be very one-track mind. He's going to want to get to that Moon Tower ASAP. So if you want breakfast, sorry. We're going through McDonald's and you're going to get a hash brown. Like,
Yarrow probably suggested and was like, I can get breakfast first. Are you hungry?
No.
Okay. No, not at all. I mean,
no, not at
I
all.
will say this is kind of like a walk and talk type situation where the two of you are like bickering about stuff. And as you get to the edge of, not town, but the edge of like that downtown area, there is an open cart. And there's 2 gnome figures, and Yarrow, you feel that like rumble in your stomach.
Yeah.
And it's like, that smell of just like a quick bite, maybe?
Yeah, I think like, you can keep walking if you want. I'll grab us something really, really quick and then eat while we walk.
He's not going to say anything. He's going to take Yarrow's walk if you want, and he's going to just start walking, or keep walking rather, right past the cart.
Yeah, he's just like, I'm taking that as a yes. He's going to quickly run and get some food from the cart.
And then just as kind of like a director type thing, you get the cut of Dianthus being like, no, we're not stopping. And then it's like Yarrow like biting into like this bakery, like, this baked good or whatever. And Dianthus is just walking with like an assortment of like, I didn't want any of this, but
it was given to me and I will hold it. It's not going in my mouth. Do you want it?
As y'all get to the Moon Tower, Yarrow, I gave a little bit of an explanation the first time I showed the Moon Tower, but would you like to add anything for Dianthus or whatever?
The most thing is like we said, it's a really funky shaped tower, kind of like a how is this standing sort of structure. I think as far as like when the door opens, because it goes up. So sort of like a doorbell type thing. It's one of those, like, there's a bell and then there's a string that goes to the next floor, so there's bells around. And I think the first floor is like a little bit of a shop, almost like, I think we said like books, clocks, little thingies like that. But it looks normal. And then you get upstairs and it is a shit show of like threads and strings, like the like the conspiracy board type thing, but to an extreme where it's like the whole room basically, and you need his help to like navigate through everything.
I have
but yeah,
a you and or DM question. Would I know that one of your nicknames is Threads, or is that like a inside joke situation?
I mean, I think it's definitely something Emrys would have called. I don't know about everyone else.
Okay.
So I guess maybe. It's kind of like one of those deals where, like, someone has a nickname, but maybe you don't know the whole story behind it. I will say, Dianthus, as you are processing this thought, right? Like, Yarrow, the threads before were yarn and, whatever material it is that you would typically have on a conspiracy board. But as you step into this space, the funny thing with magic, right? And with arcane focuses and that sort of thing is outside of a world, right? It makes sense as to why there are runes and scribblings and all sorts of things. But to an individual who is just obsessive and, leaving marks and paper and sort of things, Yarrow, you realize that you've inadvertently set up a miraculous, immaculate layer of runes and protection spells and all sorts of things in this space. And the yarn that you had left somewhat craftily around everywhere is now taut, completely straight lines to each part, and it has a little bit of the arcane focus that is like an extension of you. Like, Dianthus, you look over and the moon-like horns of Yarrow glow a little bit, and this space kind of responds to the wave of your hand, and like as you try to like get stuff out of the way, the papers and everything kind of like lift up, and it's a much more responsive and more accurate mind map for Yarrow.
That's so cool. Yeah, he's just immediately like, this is new.
You lived like this before?
Yes, it's that everything goes to a place and is connected to something and means something.
No one can walk across your floor.
You can, if you follow me, you have to take specific steps and you go around that way. There's a path.
No one should need a guide to walk through your home.
I mean, technically most people stay downstairs. This is like...
How often do you have people come over?
Not very.
Not surprised. Where are your books?
Yarrow, as you're like explaining this, and Dianthus is like walking through the space, it does kind of shuffle. This is kind of the equivalent of going from a T9 phone, like a very basic keyboard, to like a VR headset type deal. It's super responsive to what you're doing. So like as you're explaining, like, oh, you have to follow a certain path or whatever, Dianthus is visibly put off by the clutter, but it is kind of quirky how it, Dianthus, even though you're stepping over things, you don't actually touch anything. Like everything kind of like makes its way around. And what kind of material, Yarrow, like what kind of books, what kind of subject matter do you think y'all are looking for?
I mean, now that there's like magic stuff, anything regarding like magic or weird time stuff, the Bianca stuff, the like I don't know,
life juice.
Life juice, yeah.
Oh yes, life juice.
Anything that might give any sort of information or insight into what we're dealing with.
Interesting. This is one of those moments as the DM where it's like, how much of the lore and stuff.
This little What does this loser have in his?
I will say, I was looking over your character stuff today, and you have, I think, the sage background, if I'm not mistaken, Yarrow.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah.
And before this, how I think would make sense to conceptualize this, mechanically, but also in your character. Part of the reason, Yarrow, that you are so cluttered and obsessive is you do seem to have, like, if anyone was to talk to you about a subject you found interesting, they'd be amazed by just how much reserved knowledge that you have. And in this space, usually the books and the writings, a lot of the reason that you have all these conspiracy boards is just like trying to decipher all this information. But in, this not even yet 24 hours of having magical ability, as you kind of reach out into the space, there are circular runes that take shape around your fingertips, hands, and like your elbow. And it's almost as if, like, to illustrate this way, you can like turn and certain books kind of reshuffle or open up as you mentally and arcanely reach out for information. Dianthus, it looks to you as if Yarrow is just like throwing books and doing a bunch of stuff, but like Yarrow, you feel in your process, in your piece, that you're looking for, different material, different sort of things. I will say, as the throwing and the rummaging and stuff is happening, Dianthus, you are interrupted by, a lot of Yarrow running around and maybe knocking into you a time or two, or like throwing around a couple books. But what do you think you're directing them to look for?
Anything regarding spells or similar magical memory, like things that would block one's memory, things that would revive a memory that was forgotten. And additionally, specifically, anything regarding the year that he fell and landed here, because he was KO'd. I'm assuming woke up in the church. He has no memory recollection of what happened between him landing and him waking up. So any information regarding that, he would want to know.
I will say in that case, to figure out how much the two of you together are trying to get out of this, can I get a group history, religion, or medicine check?
What am I better at?
I will say, I'll do it this way, because what you're talking about is a bit of all three.
Yeah.
If you would like, if Dianthus, you give me medicine check, Yarrow gives me a history check, and then for the religion, I'll say, depending on your combined rolls, I'll tell you what happens.
16.
12 on my end.
Okay, so I will say Yarrow. With the 12, you get probably a good... I don't know how often either of you go to the library, but sometimes there's those moments whenever you are really interested in a book series or something, when you walk out of the library with like this much books. You're just like, this. It's just like, okay, this is all that I can carry.
He absolutely has books he has not returned to the library.
Yarrow, as far as history goes, you do have a working collection of the history of D'aowVern. You do find a sticky note or some sort of, paper that has Nortia's name on it, because she did come to talk to you about a ongoing historical project for the D'aowVern history. On a 12, you also find a bunch of clippings, right? Nothing too substantial. Dianthus wasn't the only person to fall from the sky, but Dianthus was the only genasi. There was a year where a bunch of air genasi fell from the sky, because that's, they're in the sky, and then it was like natural, that sort of thing. And then there was a year where different ships, different forms of transportation kind of fell out. You got the idea that they came from a society of, a little higher mechanical prowess, that sort of thing. You do find a couple decommissioned papers, meaning like news and other types of articles talking about dissension or pushback towards the church or the wardens, but those specific prints have gone out of business or the writer mysteriously disappeared type deal. And that's basically what you get, right? Just a bunch of that. It's going to take you a while to sift through it, though.
Right.
Dianthus, your check, Yarrow is still the one going through and finding all these books and stuff. But you find three of what you assume will be helpful books. One's called the Amnesak. It's amnesia, but with a C at the end. It's just a collection of different memory loss and healing spells, but also just like rituals and stories and that sort of thing. You also find a very small scroll on something called Chronochrysalis. Dianthus, as you're looking at it, it fits very closely to Emeris's problem.
Ooh, okay. I'ma tuck that away for later. Sorry, bud. That's mine now.
The third thing you find is a thick book with a draconic emblem on the front, but the pages are empty. However, Yarrow for a moment probably like opens the book and has a sense of like, oh, this is useless, and throws it. But Dianthus, as the book is revealed, your chest starts to burn pretty bad, and you actually pocket it, and it's like, this has something more than it's showing. All of this, I would say, is going to take some time to sit with, and and I'm not going to sit through like role playing a bunch of just
that's fine.
Right.
lab reports and stuff. But Yarrow, you do get the sense, and even as you are going through and trying to like find all these books, Dianthus is probably going behind you and like organizing stuff in a way that even like kind of
alphabetical order and by date of publication.
And as this happens, probably for the first time, the shelves and the stacks of books and everything actually reveal like the window for this. Everything was like stacked up in front of it, like, oh my god, like. And so probably for a good couple of hours, Yarrow with and I definitely code Yarrow in my head as like someone with ADHD, where it's like,
oh, absolutely,
the body double definitely helps you kind of get your thoughts together.
Yeah.
As you stand in the center of your library, I guess we could call it. It's definitely one of those things where it's like technically a library if you have 1,000 books, and Yarrow probably has like way more than that. And as you stand in the center and you think about certain material, beams of very faint but noticeable beams of light kind of point out to where you are directed. So it's kind of from this moment, like this level of, arcane, but also just memory. You're like, okay, this is going to be a lot more feasible in the future. And Dianthus, your pessimistic approach to certain things probably has a sense of, this is going to get Yarrow in danger.
Yep.
He's got a lot of info in there.
Yeah, a lot of info.
The declassified shit from like, oh, they went out of business and this guy went missing under mysterious circumstances. That's gonna be you! Be careful! I do think like once everything's kind of organized though, he will nudge Yarrow a little bit, just, oh look, there was a room underneath all those books.
That there is. I've never seen it this clean, actually, so.
Try to keep it this way.
Thank you. I can't promise that, but I will try.
There's a moment where Yarrow's tail kind of knocks over a stack of books.
And try is all I can ask of him.
I will say at this point, it's been, a few hours of collecting materials. We'll know you have to look over it, and we can, take some, it'll probably take days, honestly, just because it's so much. And some of it you have to get like translations for and all that sort of stuff. Nordia comes to mind just because of the note and the material and just I think you heard her speaking in a couple different languages back at the tavern. Dianthus, you would also know that Cal is a polyglot.
Correct.
Because for different reasons, you have friends that can speak more languages than y'all can. It is at this point, I would say, like, y'all processing through all this stuff. Dianthus probably at one point begrudgingly ate the breakfast.
He had a bagel. A plain bagel.
A bagel.
Yeah.
A plain bagel. What is something that y'all would like to do, or do you have an idea of something that you would like to do before then?
I want to go see Lady Bishop, actually.
Oh.
Dang.
I haven't stopped thinking about that. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I know if she's acting suspicious, then I know for sure something's up.
Interesting. Okay. Yarrow, did you have something? I do have something ready for that. But I just wanted to see.
Yeah, I mean, unless there's anything specific, like, he thinks of that they need, whether it be supplies or something. I think other than that, he'll just be trying to gather what they need or what seems useful. And is definitely kind of thinking like, okay, I think we should bring these to our buddies because more brains to think about this stuff.
Yeah.
Yarrow, you probably realize looking through all this material that some of this is going to need reading and translating in graphic components that you don't have here. So the library is probably the best bet.
Yeah.
Dianthus, in thinking of Lady Dinah, who's the bishop of the church, leaving Maldeo earlier today, you probably were able to clock that she wasn't there at the time, which is probably a little strange.
Yeah.
But, the Breckoning festivities are happening, and she's probably making an appearance somewhere downtown. So I'll say if I could get, as you leave the Moon Tower with your various, bags with, books and that sort of thing, if I could get a general perception check from both of you, and this is to basically dictate how you go into town, sort of deal.
23.
Oh, shit. That was a 17 on my end.
Ooh, okay. So very good. So Yarrow, up to this point, with everything, has been a little scatterbrained and kind of all over the place. But Dianthus, the two of you are able to actually, talking about the material and maybe, getting a little bit of, Yarrow at this point has like, oh my gosh, and so this will help with, this can help with my brother, and, we have like stuff to talk about, and Dianthus is just kind of like walking through, okay, yes. You're able to, not like shadily, like not as if you have something to hide, but you're able to avoid most of the wardens and all that. But there is a moment where you see Lady Dinah eating with a group of people, and they're general clergy. Some of them you see are members of the courts, so regal in appearance, and they have like bodyguards around them. It's in kind of an alleyway. If you've ever been to any European like restaurant, like sometimes they'll have like the kitchen, and then connected to it, it's literally a street where they just serve the tables and that sort of thing. However, on the other side, there is a store that Dianthus, on a 23, you think it might be easier to hear them from inside the building than it would be to approach the alleyway.
All right, let's go shopping,
Oh.
Yarrow. Let's head on
Let's
in there.
go. We're gonna do a little shopping.
If Yarrow needs guided that way, it's gonna be just a hand on upper back pushing you quite literally into that store.
Okay.
Like, oh, we're going here now. Cool.
I will say, so like a 17 for Yarrow, basically it helped you focus, and as you're going, you're able to like organize your bag and do that sort of thing. But you are very like undirected, and so there's a lot of you just kind of getting ahead and stuff. And at some point, you'll probably again grab something to eat, and, you're just kind of walking. But you get like a nudge into these doors, almost Western style, in the way where you like push through and the doors kind of like swing like this. And the two of you are in a shop. And I will say, Dianthus, with your 23, you have already kind of visualized like how to get to like the window to listen in on that conversation. Yarrow, you are kind of pushed by Dianthus into the middle of the store, and you see a very large man sitting, and large as in he's probably closer like 7 feet tall, and has a very big beard. But something that's a little weird about it is his beard isn't made out of hair, but out of tentacles.
Oh my god, Davy Jones.
Oh.
It definitely gives Davy Jones vibes. And Dianthus is able to kind of sneak away into like the kind of corner to catch the conversation.
Can I, just before I go tell Yarrow, go talk to him, distract him?
Okay. She's not even going to ask, just like, you grew up. Yep. Got this.
I'll say in that case, Yarrow, if you could give me with advantage because of that investigation.
First one's a 15, and that is a 19 plus 3.
Yes!
Gotcha.
22.
Gotcha. So we'll say, Dianthus, you go to the window. You're not there for this part of the conversation, but Yarrow, that's a pretty good roll. So you're actually able to, with your, granted, typically unfocused, but pretty perceptive eye when it comes to things that are useful. You clock a bunch of things in the store that have an arcane energy. And the owner, for a second, doesn't see you come in. He's like, I told you to... Oh, you're not... Oh, okay, sorry. I thought you were two other... Young man, how may I help you today?
I was just interested in a few things. This one over here looks really interesting. Could you tell me about it?
I'll say in this case, what kind of material or item or effect do you think Yarrow would be interested in? Because I have a bunch of stuff.
So,
the
Pokemon cards!
Okay. Damn, let me see. Well, he definitely, I think, would be interested. I don't know if there's any like other books or notebooks or anything that may be like magical components thing that's like I don't know, even like spell wise, like if there's anything that's about magic or spells or magical items.
So I'll say with your check, you found a couple rings you thought might be interesting. There's a couple books, and actually a couple like pieces of fabric that you're not quite sure what they do. And I know this is kind of a lot, but if I could have you roll 4d6 and tell me what each result is, respectively.
Christ.
Okay.
And not combined, but tell me what each individual die. Yeah.
So we're doing, you said 4?
Mm-hmm.
So first one is a 2. Next one is a 5. That one was a 4. That one was another 2.
This kind of just helps me, so I'm not like, okay, there's 50 items in this store.
Yeah, it narrows it down. I gotcha.
Yeah, so I'm going to say, fantastic. So you come up with 5 items. One is a ring, which you're not sure what the ring does necessarily. One is a cloak, which you also are not quite sure what it does. There's also a fan and a chime and a book. So ring, cloak, fan, chime, book. And at this point, you're able to pick it out pretty well. Dianthus is looking to the side. Up to this point, we haven't really counted your gold. I don't think. Do we know, or do you know how much gold you're starting off with?
Well, I think you mentioned before I got 20 from Bonqui, and then possibly another 5.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then I don't know how character sheets work, but I guess I started with a little bit, like 10 as well, so 35 total.
Gotcha.
For me, yeah.
In that case, because we could roleplay the entire bartering type thing, but I do want to give Dianthus a bit of an opportunity to hear what they're looking for with Dinah. If you could give me persuasion check, and that will give me an idea as to how productive or how, I guess, agreeable the owner is.
That was a 13.
So he's like, "Hey, my name's Ozzy. I'm new to this," and like his tentacles kind of like shake around and stuff. You get the idea that a couple people would be extremely terrified from the situation. Yarrow, with a 13, the items that you find, he's like, "I could give you all of this for 50 gold."
50 sounds reasonable, but I think like 35 might be a little, or you could cut out one of the items. And then
He kind of looks at it, he's like, 30.
it's based on the materials that it's made out of. I mean, if you look at that one, that's the stitching is a little off there. And then, I mean, they're still really good, but
He looks at you for a second, and he's like, Tell you what. I don't know what most of these items do. I sold a bracer to a man earlier, and his arm fell off. So, I'll give you this. So, I'll take 30 gold. I'm going to give you the items here. And I'm also going to give you... and he, like, pulls out a stack of business cards. He's like, These are reference coupons. So, anyone you send my way, I'll chip in, some credit for you or something.
that sounds like a great deal.
And as we kind of pan away from this for a second, Yarrow and this guy, I will say a DM kind of like out of game moment is the other two were here right before you got here, and they did not have as well of roles regarding their persuasion and investigation. So,
I see. Okay.
so this guy actually tends to warm up to you pretty good. Dianthus, though.
Hi.
As you get to the window, and like there's a moment of like the owner kind of looks over at you, but gets a like you kind of get the idea if someone's going to steal from you versus if they're just like kind of looking around, whatever. So he kind of shakes it off, whatever, because he's talking to Yarrow in that moment. You hear a conversation between Dinah. Her voice is very, very regal, a little more youthful than earlier. That same like almost like Karen like disdain for the topic of it's like, well, General, what we can't be moving the troops, and we don't know what. And then there's a moment of like maybe something moved or like some chairs shuffled, and then it's like, anyway, what were we talking about? I would say like Dianthus, because you get a few minutes to kind of listen into their conversation. What do you think you're looking for?
Any reference or mention to yesterday's events, where she was? If any of the other individuals comment on her appearance, her current appearance, anything that's just simply a little out of the ordinary. I don't know how well I know her personally, but yes, anything that's gonna stand out to me as like you are somehow connected to either Bianca or what happened yesterday, and that's why you are young now.
As the conversation goes on, Dianthus, most of what they're talking about isn't useful. Some of the generals are giving reports. Some fey creatures have been making noise outside of town. The races are coming up. Certain ships, certain cargo has gone missing. Most of it, you're like, God, this is useless. But then there's a gruff, well, we should talk about it, shouldn't we? And, an elderly gentleman, from the way that you're kind of like ear to the window type deal, you get the idea that he's probably human, a little heavier build. But this is probably, besides Dinah, probably the only person at the table with like authority. And you get the idea that this is probably the general she was speaking to. What are we going to do about the magic? Whatever do you mean? What are we going to do? Well, it changes things, doesn't it? Well, sometimes change is good. what about shipments? And there's a moment of just like the entire table going silent. General, if you can't clean up the streets without all this newfound magic, I'm going to have to find someone who can. Can you give me a stealth check, Dianthus?
Fuck. 10.
There's a moment where, you're listening, and then you hear a hand hit the glass of the window, and you see a burly, bearded man. Like, if you were looking out the window like this, he would definitely be looking straight at you.
Oh, cool.
But like on a 10, I'm gonna say that he kind of catches you at a periphery,
yeah.
Right? So like the window's here, and he's like, "Ma'am, we're being watched."
Shit. This is stupid. He's been caught. He's not getting the answers he needs or wants. He might say fuck it and just go outside and face the music.
Okay.
I'm not warning Yarrow. I'm sorry, King. Buy your potions.
Where are you going?
I'm going outside. I gotta get some air.
I'm going to say that based on like the way that y'all clocked the building as you came in, Dianthus has a moment of like collection, just like, okay, fine. I guess we're doing this. And you walk outside, and Yarrow's kind of has like a burlap sack with like the haul that you just got, and the two of you walk outside, and you see standing in front of you Lady Dinah, one of the lords of the Court of Suns. You're not quite familiar with him, but he's an elderly gentleman, big beard, a bit of a burly stomach. You can tell that he like used to be very buff, but like kind of in that kind of middle-aged, let himself go type of way. Still intimidating. A bunch of wardens, a couple high priests. Harbinger, what are you doing here?
Lady Bishop, I was shopping with my acquaintance.
The lady's like, well, I guess I'll take a look. Better keep things running smoothly. And she kind of like motions for you to pass. I will say, on your passive perception, everyone kind of hurriedly runs, like kind of like jostles past you. But the more ragged individual and the Lord General both give you looks to where Dianthus, you know that those two specifically don't believe you.
Yo, you go on ahead.
You sure?
Yes.
Okay. He's gonna go ahead. He's not gonna go too far. Probably just like around the corner.
Lady Bishop, you have made yourself scarce since yesterday. Why is that I must keep your cathedral running smoothly?
Sir Dianthus, I have lords to entertain, events to host. People need my benevolent attention. You have a very clear job with very strict rules. Don't worry about mine.
You look different.
Isn't it wonderful?
Is
you
it
think
magic?
I did this? Is it magic? Well, I feel like you would know more than most. I caught some of y'all's battle.
If I knew anything, I would have already shared it with you over the past few years.
Well, it seems like things are changing, aren't they? Before I go, because there are characters you probably would find boring that I must speak to today. Sometimes it's best to keep your head in the cave. before someone finds you. Just some advice.
I don't need your advice. You should learn to respect your elders, Lady Bishop. Have a great day. And he will turn to go find Yarrow.
I will say, as the two of you kind of walk off, it's like, oh my god, that was so cool. Like, oh yeah. You do catch a couple familiar figures in the distance as Nordia, Lady M, Cal, Gunnar, and a fifth person that you find unfamiliar enter the library. And I don't know if you are going to go into the library or if y'all, stop somewhere to eat or, look at the books that you have or the things that you've collected. But I will say, Dianthus, as you sit in the middle of the street, you and Yarrow feel for the first time in about 24 hours just how busy and energetic and wild the streets are. But as the two of you, with very different takeaways from the past day and with a lot of new information, just share a single moment of what the hell is going on. And that is where we're going to end tonight's session. Thank you for joining us, for those that were in the comments and stuff. But Dianthus and Yarrow, y'all went through quite a bit in just a 24-hour stretch.
Yeah. We'll see.
That being said, strangers and friends, thank you for joining us. And the stream is now open.